syndrome at this point.
Monthly Board of Education meeting. Would you like to take attendance?
It would be my pleasure. Ms. Boucher is absent. Ms. Campbell.
Here.
Ms. Hastings.
Here?
Ms. Higgins.
Here.
Mr. Richards.
Here.
Ms. Robinson.
Here.
Ms. Sadowski.
Here.
Ms. Walsh is also absent. And I am here. At 7, we have a quorum.
Okay. Could I get a motion for an approval of the agenda?
I move, I was going to say whichever.
Go ahead.
I move that we approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
And I'll second it. Here we go.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The agenda passes. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Seconded.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Meeker?
I have an amendment to offer to the regular monthly meeting from June 2nd. On page 13, under the section vote, we had a series of votes that night, and 2 of those motions are just not included. A motion on the whether or not to pass the Second Amendment to Policy 528, as well as the motion to pass Policy 528 on second reading. So I would just ask that those be added before finalized.
Good catch.
Any objections to any of that? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The consent agenda passes. And next, we have a celebration for our student leaders and recent graduate, Van McIver, if you want to come on up.
See, there's his dad. How are you? I was telling childhood stories. I just, yeah.
Oh.
I didn't want to be the one. No.
Wait, get it back.
It's okay. No, Van, come on.
No,
come back.
I'm just joking.
That was done wrong. Let's just have a seat for a second. If you would.
I initiated it.
I'm just kidding, man.
Yeah. We
Van,
just like
we
you an
wanted to
awful
say
lot.
thank you very, very much for all of your hard work and the dedication that you've shown. We have every confidence that we will see you back on boards like this in the future, and we hope you'll come back and let us know how things are going. And we just wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Be safe, be happy, have fun. Okay?
Thank you.
Future's bright, young man. Take chances. Be reckless sometimes.
can get a little bit of a nice backdrop. Thank you.
Do it for the gram.
Thank you.
Thanks, Van.
Thank you, Van.
Thanks, Aaron.
It's true. It's true.
Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Is that mom and dad in background?
Yeah.
I'll say this to Van, but mom and dad, be proud. The way that you spoke up and the way that you made sure voices were heard and you were asking questions, I think of the legislation breakfast and how you question things. Don't ever change. Keep on doing that. You are phenomenal. So
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you.
I would agree.
Good job, Mom and Dad.
Nice.
Grace to keep her.
Next, we'll move on to recognitions and reports. So Superintendent Murphy.
So first of all,
You're so welcome.
I'm
I know
gonna,
it feels
Yeah, you
weird,
can
but
leave.
can leave.
I know, you get your
I'm gonna apologize. I have a terrible winter, summer cold, so I hope everybody can understand what I'm saying. If I lose my voice,
You sound good.
not a bad thing, right? Okay.
Oh my
All
God,
right,
you
so-
knock it right on.
I know. So I just wanted to update you on the end of the year kind of things. You know, we had a great closing this year. I thought it went very well. There were no surprises. But the best part of it is when we get a chance to celebrate the students. In high school graduation, we graduated from high school 271 students on that Saturday morning. And we also have students, by the way, that take the high set and adult diploma. We had more students coming back and taking the exam, the high set, which is for, the former GR, the GED. And so it's really awesome to see. Kristen Cooney has done a fabulous job with our adult diploma, and people are coming back. And I think if Pam were here, she would let you know that we signed more diplomas at the end of the year for those youngsters meeting their competencies and graduating and being with their colleagues. We thought it was pretty spectacular. Our principal had a tough decision on that morning. Dr. Herbert had to make a decision about whether graduation would be held in the morning, given the rain, or the afternoon. Obviously, there's always, as you know, it's like a snow day. Some love it, some don't. So we all watched the weather and knew that the best thing to do was to have it in the afternoon. But the real driving force behind that was not Dr. Herbert's decision or my discussions with him. It was the kids. They wanted it outside. They made it very clear that they wanted him to do everything he could to make sure that we had it outside. And if you were there, it was packed. I mean, there was no room anywhere in the bleachers, all around the outside fence, when we had it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So, for Tim and his team next year, I think they'll be considering how to do that, keep parents informed. Some parents were upset because, they had made lunch reservations and things like that. But for the most part, it went off without a hitch, and the kids had a blast. As you know, our graduation is all focused on students, student speakers, and they were incredibly impactful that afternoon. So, again, I think you should be very proud of them. Just their deportment during the whole ceremony was like just the best. So kudos to our senior class and to the teachers and administration over at Concord High School. The second one is really kind of a fun one. It's a middle school celebration, and we don't call it promotion or graduation. We call it a celebration. They finished eight plus years, right? Including kindergarten. And they're going off to the high school. And it's so funny because they're getting dressed up. They're trying to maintain themselves. They have to learn how to come through a line, shake your hand, look at you face to face. It's just amazing, the whole process. Again, I think that Jay Richards is going to have a decision to make because the place was packed. There was no room in the house. And the bleachers were full. Sides were packed. And so I think that Jay's going to have to make a decision about maybe going outside, doing something outside. The only other places indoors would be the gymnasium at Concord High School. But that's not their school yet. But it's some things that I think Jay will consider, and his team and the teachers and the student council over there to decide. But again, they sent off to high school 328 students off to the high school. So most of them are going to Concord High School. I'm sure there's a few that have made some other decisions, but it was a great night too for them. And by the way, they have a dance afterwards. So Jay's very careful about 1 hour, the presentation, and then the kids have meet their families, say hello, all that nice stuff. Then they have their dance. So it's a great end of the year for our middle schoolers. So yeah. Elementary finished up on the 17th, and they had a couple of things happen. They honored their fifth graders who are transitioning to middle school. The other thing that happens is our seniors, wearing their caps and gowns, go to each individual school that they went to elementary school. So each of the principals called me and said, "Oh, you won't believe it. It's awesome." They have seniors walking through the building with the kids. Their families even come to join the seniors as they parade, if you will, through the elementary school. So
They wear their caps and gowns.
yeah, they're all decked out.
Yeah, it's so good.
Just another Concord tradition that is really stuck and that people are proud of. So I just wanted to kind of get you up to speed on some of that. If you missed it, it was a flurry at the end of the year. The third item on my agenda is Matt. I asked Matt to do this, to give us an HVAC update at Concord High School. I'm sure you've seen the cranes, all the activity, and Matt acting as your owner's project rep on this job. Remember, it's a pretty significant job. It's a big bond that you supported. So I asked Matt to update you tonight.
So as Kathleen mentioned, you've probably all seen the cranes, 2 cranes on site. One of them have left already. We have 19 total units that are on the roof and installed. We did a planned power outage today to make sure all the wiring from the control panel from the breaker to the control panel was all set. We'll be bringing back power tomorrow about 8:30 in the morning, but that so far went extremely well. Our backup generator handled all the power and the internet and the server and all the alarm associated with it. As of today, we're about 65% complete, which is very good. In talking with, we have close to 60 to 80 subcontractors on the site since June 17th, and that will continue all the way through until substantial completion on August 18th. The new system is capable, it's a dehumidified air system, so it is capable of up to, and in some cases, more than 4 fresh air exchanges per hour in all of the spaces. That's significant. Our elementary schools, and then Beaver Meadow and Broken Ground from last year, they're up to that standards as well. So I think we'll have a lot of excited people when they come back to school. The refrigerant gas is planned to arrive in the spring or summer of '26. And once that comes in, we plan on putting that right into the system and activating it. So I talked to Tim earlier tonight. We're planning a second planned shutdown on August 29th. It's the Friday of Labor Day. And that is the sole purpose for that, is to go into that questionable 3,000 amp breaker that we talked about earlier, secure the power to it, safely open it up, get in there, take all the measurements, everything that Square D, the manufacturer, has to receive from that particular breaker. They're going to do that on the 29th. We'll restore power and keep on trucking until that breaker is available to be installed. And again, we would plan on that in the spring or summer of '26.
What Matt might have told you is that when you shut down the power, of course, the server room gets shut down. Your internet access, your phones, all of that. So obviously people panicked a little bit. But Matthew had that under control. They immediately went to the 2 generators who carried us all day today. We had no shutdowns at all, no blips. And of course, it was important because today was our first day of extended school year. So no problem. And so I anticipate the same thing in August, so,
Correct.
yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Is that 65% already?
65% complete.
Is that ahead of schedule?
That's on schedule.
Okay.
It just feels
So-
fast. I'm uneducated.
Well, I was gonna, for the past 18 months, there's been a ton of background work being done, all of the engineering, the planning, the permitting. But then, starting December of 2024, we were bringing on 2 shifts to run all the low voltage control wiring throughout the school. Think of, that school is over 500,000 square feet. So it's a lot of pre-wiring that, through the work of Tim and his staff and the students, we were able to get a lot of mileage done ahead of time. So that definitely helped.
Great.
Sure.
I'm going to continue. One of the goals that you had this year was to improve our website. It was important. The ease of using that is important to our community, to our users. So I asked Terry tonight, she's going to give a very short presentation about the changes that have already been made to the website, show you some little places that can help you to access information. So I'll turn it over to you, Terry.
Okay. Quick, because I know some people want to get out of here. So we have made some changes to the website. There are a couple goals. One, to be easier to use. Our navigation on our previous website, that was the first thing I heard, like everybody I talked to when I first started, was the navigation was confusing on our websites. And so hopefully it's more intuitive the way it's been laid out. And if it's not, we can change it. That was something that was really important. It's very flexible, very adaptable. It kind of has components. It's a framework, and we can move things around and turn it on and off, which is like a really nice feature. It's going to be searchable. It is already much better searchable than it was. And as we move through this summer, if you can't find something on the website, you should be able to Google search it, and it should be able to pop up, where before we could not, because so much information was stored on Google Drive, and then so it wasn't connected. There is still some information on Google Drive, because we have the upside is we have a lot of content. For example, we have budgets going back to 2016. Like, a lot of districts just don't offer that kind of information. But to port that over to this website, is the way it was created, it's kind of like a ball of yarn, so that's a little bit of a back burner project to get to. One of my favorite things is what you're going to see moving forward is more photos of kids learning instead of photos of buildings. That's something that, and we can you pop on here right away and you can see things that we're doing in the district. We have some great photos. And then another feature that this has, who doesn't want to come to Millbrook when you get to dress up like a rainforest ranger? So that's just one of their units where they transform it. And we've been slowly starting to build out photo libraries and stuff, and so that'll be something that we do more. But this website also allows us to do video. And so we can show just quick little snippets of, again, fun things that we're doing. I don't know if you know that Abbott Downing has a television show that's produced by students, but Renlet also does. And then the high school has been doing pockets of that too. So we might produce a show specifically for the website, Yeah. So those are kind of like some of the fun ideas. Tried to make board information more navigatable, if that's a good word. And so here's our committees, and I like this little feature where we can expand everything all at once, and you can see everything. Kara, is that a little bit of a look of joy on your face?
Yes, and also I have questions about ADA compliance.
It's all ADA compliant.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. One of my favorite topics. Yes, so this is a mobile-first design, and as you probably know, PDFs can be ADA compliant, but also cannot be. And so so everything in the past is grandfathered. But moving forward, that is a push to get away from those PDFs. And so, for example, these had been Google Docs.
Yep.
So to get it on the site, so we're moving away from that. The other positive is it's all translatable when you have it on the website directly. And so we might be able to get a handbook or two directly on this year. I have to see how ambitious that is. But that would be an ultimate goal, is for us to do that. It is required by the Department of Justice for us to be fully accessible by 2027. So that does help move things along. And then I think the final thing is I really like the way policies are laid out. And so all of these policies are directly on the website now. So they are searchable, which I think if you had been looking for a policy in the past, it would have been very challenging to find.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, right, and you would look, right, and so so you would link to this section, and then again, it's a folder, but as you can see, it says search documents in the upper right.
Amazing.
So, it's only going to get better moving forward, and again, if people have feedback, please email me, let me know. This is we have a popular links feature, and so we have a family portal, staff portal, careers, RC something, say something. So I think, and the other thing is it links to Parent Square. That's who the vendor is. It's a Parent Square, so we can link it if we choose, but we need to discuss norms. I don't think the public maybe necessarily cares about popcorn fundraisers. So we want to, share with appropriate things, and so we need to work out those guidelines. But it's going to streamline our communication a bit more over time.
Terry, great job.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Well done.
Yes.
Good
That
job.
deserves an applause,
Incredible.
for sure. That's super exciting.
I forgot what I was gonna say now. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, nobody said
Sorry,
anything.
Well, if you
My question for you is, so I see the dashboard on here and the search bar. Is there potential for using this to help the board or administration decide, like, hey, a lot of people are looking for this, maybe there's public education need around here, or is there some?
Yeah,
thought on
it's,
that?
like I said, it's super flexible. We can put, I can nerd out on you if you want, but each section is just a component, and we can add stuff and delete. So let's say we want to talk about, I don't know, there's something that's just a seasonal thing. We can throw a component in on that, and then we can remove it when the time period is over. It also has features like we can put end dates. So you know how a lot of times we'll see, graduation, and then it's still on there in August. We can set an end date that it'll go away.
Very cool.
And I should add, most importantly, this is less expensive than because some people are probably like, this costs a lot of money. It's actually, by the time we're done, right now it's almost even. It should be about $1,000 or two less in the future.
I don't think I was clear. I'm talking about the dashboard specifically. Can you use that? Let's say. Thank you.
What do you mean by dashboard?
Up to smart sites. I'm assuming this is yours.
Oh yeah, actually that's mine. Yeah, I'm signed
exactly. That's
in,
why.
actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what I'm asking about that is, are we able to get data as far as what people are searching for the most? So let's say we have folks searching up a lot school lunches. So then that can be brought to this table and be like, hey, people are asking about this. Maybe we need to reassess communication on this, or like what information.
Analytics.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes. So I haven't dug into what Smart Sites offers. They
Okay.
do offer some. They're a growing company, so they're constantly improving. But we will hook up data. Google Analytics. It never connected properly to our previous site, because what's a little bit sad is, let's say we have 400 pages probably between all of the schools, right? 10 are visited.
Yeah.
It's an extraordinarily small amount that is visited. So it's always a good idea for us to think about how much time we spend building out pages if some of them never get visited. So yes, we will be able to see, and we do have a survey from last year, which also let us know what people were interested in. Yep.
Well
Yeah.
done.
It's all coming together.
Good.
It's coming together. Yep.
We love it. That's great. Excellent.
You good?
Yes.
One more item that I have, and that's grants, because you've heard a lot of noise about grants. So let me give you some updates. We received grants so far from IDEA and preschool. Preschool pretty much level funded from last year. IDEA was probably a decrease of 25,000. So we're still seeing a little bit of a decrease there. We also have received money from Perkins, which is our CTE, very important, but again, a decrease of 61,000. So we'll have to look at that. Perkins mostly uses materials, supplies, equipment. That's where they spend most of their money. So we'll keep a close eye on that. We also received our Title I allocation, which is really important, right? Because all of our elementary schools, middle, except Abbott Downing and the high school, are Title I schools. So this money is really important for staffing. But again, we're seeing a decrease by 59,000. So that's been difficult. We figure that we have had a decrease in allocations thus far of $150,000, just so you know. Now, just recently you heard that there were a number of grants that were held back in Washington. Those grants are important to us. The first, the one that is our Title IV money, which is our enrichment money that we use for, quite frankly, we use it for Abbott Downing, for the tutors, right? Because remember, Title I doesn't cover, so we have to use alternative resources to provide tutoring in math and reading over at Abbott Downing. So one of the good things is that there is some, what Ellen calls old money. That old money is leftover money, money that wasn't expended that we can use. So we think we're going to be okay with that Title IV. That's a positive for Abbott Downing and those tutors that we hire. Title II, which is really important to my colleague sitting next to me, which is all around the professional development. I mean, you know how much effort we put into that. Both Terry and Kim have been on my ear about AI, right? That's a big deal. We need to do some training, and our staff needs to know how to use it. Our kids need to know how to use it. They're using it. We just want to make sure it's used in an appropriate way, right? So these are the kinds of things that we spend that money on. We are anticipating $285,000. So that's a big chunk of change. So we haven't heard much yet. So we're kind of just waiting to see if that money comes through. The other grant that, a couple more, Title III. Title III is the money that we use for our MLL kids, multi-language learners. It pays for some support out at Broken Ground School. Thank you, Brenda, for some support for those youngsters out there. So we're waiting to hear on that. We also are waiting to hear about 21C, our after-school programs. And that's Runlet, Millbrook, and Broken Ground, who all use that 21C, which is about $400,000. So we're waiting to hear on that. And the last one is the adult diploma. You just heard me talk about how great that program is and what impact it's made. We think it's just going to be level funded, but we think we're going to get that one. We just haven't received notice yet. So I want to keep you apprised of what's happening with those, and I'll keep sending out information in my weekly to you so you know what we might have to do as a board to look at any deficits we might have. Right now, I think we're okay. They've managed the money very well here. And any leftover money we have through September 30th, and then if the state has any money that they haven't expended through grants, we will have access to that.
I'm curious, in the range of normal time for distribution, how far outside are we? Like, have they committed to distributing these funds by a certain date and we're well past that date, or are we still within the range of?
Well, we saw that in the IDEA in preschool and Perkins and the preschool IDEA in Perkins. We saw that was late coming. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, we're not going to post our grants until August 1st. And they allowed that, but that's well beyond what we normally would do. But again, we have money to fund those programs through September 30th.
Through September 30th. Okay, thank you.
But you can imagine, we're keeping a close eye on this.
Of course.
I listened to the education secretary today and talking about block grants and sending all the money in a block grant without specifics. So it's going to require that we pay if that's the case, we pay very close attention to the New Hampshire Department of Ed in making sure that that money is allocated in a way that supports our children. And I suspect that you'll hear a lot of folks talk about that, so. Anyway, not great news, but we're managing. The money was managed well. Carryover has been helpful. And so I'll keep you posted.
Thank you.
All right?
Thank you. Next, we're going to move on to a Memorial Field update.
I've just put that on for Jim and Barb.
Just because you'd like to have me talk a little bit about something. Well, actually, I do not have a whole lot more to report. At the last meeting, we looked at the city's latest layout and design of the proposed Memorial Field, and things that we would be reusing that are existing there, and things that would be done in the first phase and the second phase. That hasn't been solidified yet, and we are awaiting this next meeting coming up where they will give us some definition of phases and costs associated with each. This will be ultimately, the city would like us to approve design money. They have already budgeted this. We would have to sit down and talk amongst ourselves and propose that change, because that is not currently in our budget. That would be the next step with regards to that. Probably biggest changes that occurred were reorientation of the baseball field to create additional parking up at that end of the Memorial Field complex.
You mean Dome Field, the big baseball field?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay,
so,
okay.
which I am told is facing the wrong way
Right.
anyway, from an optimal
Sunlight.
playing,
Yeah, because
optimal
it's
playing
facing
configuration.
west,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, it's there.
Some people were concerned about the trees and that are on the outside, but those trees are going to require some attention anyway, because they have overgrown and reached a point where they would need to be addressed. So not much more this time. We have a meeting coming up this month that I think will give us more information.
When is that meeting? Do you happen to know off the top of your head? If you don't, it's okay.
I'm not sure that it's
ahead, Matt.
been absolutely set yet. It's
Yeah.
towards the end of the month.
They're suggesting the 22nd, which is a Tuesday, 5
22nd.
o'clock at the community center, but I think they need to hear from the other members
Right.
if that's a good date.
Thank you.
They're trying to schedule around various vacations and summer activities.
Summer's impossible, man.
So,
Okay.
May I make a comment? Some people had asked for information about this. It's now a committee on our website, linking to the city has agendas and minutes on it, but you can get to it from our website or through their website now.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, people were looking
Thank
for
you.
that information before.
Great job,
Just
Terry.
get
Fantastic.
Terry's
just great.
I know,
Fantastic.
knocking it out of the park.
so we will discuss this in the coming months. It's a major, the full project is, of course, a major expense. But the next phase would be design, which is estimated currently, I believe, at $1.5 million to be split between the city and the school district.
Ms. Meeker?
In terms of allocating funds for the design, do you guys feel, as committee members on the joint committee, that there need to be more meetings and sort of more education on our side before we vote on that, or is that something that we can bring to the full board for discussion now or soon?
I would say there's truth to both options. In general, in talking to community members, in talking to people that have been involved in school versus city over the Memorial Field for years and years and years, the biggest concerns I've run into are the phases, and will one phase preclude anything happening, like, okay, if it's 5 phases, but you start phase 1, does that mean it's the whole field is useless until phase 5 is done? Like those can we do a part of it and continue, all those kinds of things. One of the things I had suggested, I'm on the other committee as well, the citywide rec committee, and after one of our meetings, I really feel that the City and Community Relations committee here, should meet with that committee. We should invite them and just talk about the city and our parks, because it's a bigger issue than just Memorial Field. So the education piece, it's not only what's going on there. Here's a quick example. We have a Little League diamond in Memorial Field. We don't need it. Little League used to be regional in the city. Now it's one. And so we have ample Little League fields, not enough softball fields and larger size baseball fields. So eliminating it from the field sends alarm bells up to some people. Oh no, we're getting rid of a Little League field. It's not necessary. So but not everyone knows this, and so this can become a bone of contention. You get people upset, oh, we're getting rid of this, and where are we going to put it? So I would say that we should, as the Memorial Field Committee and the City and Community Relations, provide opportunities for citizens to come and sort of hear about it. I learn more. I've lived here my whole life, and there's parks in this town I never knew existed, and the amount of burden that puts on the city in ways that have nothing to do with school students makes the school district's involvement in Memorial Field imperative. I mean, we're the ones that use it 80% of the time. So, yeah, and it's spending a lot of time there with lots and lots of kids. It's obvious what's okay with it and what isn't. And a pretty dedicated crew over there working. So they all want those big trees gone. Get rid of the trees. But the changes that are proposed in the new layout make sense drainage-wise, make sense sound-wise for neighborhoods, make sense people in parking flow. Like it's all very, very different minds going into it, but it reminds me sometimes of our policy meetings where all our little brains that work so differently come up with a really solid, and I think ultimately it's going to be a phenomenal field, but lots to do.
Yeah, I think to answer that question, we've had good input, as Barb said, from community members, some insightful observations and questions. Good work with the city and their representatives. For the board, I think we probably should have a meeting to discuss all of it before we go into a vote,
Yeah.
because of course, Memorial Field belongs to the city. They're asking us to pay for a very sizable portion of this, but I would expect that there would have to be an agreement or some sort of memorandum of understanding that would extend for a very, very long time as to how we would use it, they would use it, because I was actually surprised at the very large number of different groups that use that field. Everything from popular track camps to summer leagues for softball and for baseball to just a whole variety of people who utilize the field. So we have a lot of questions as a board. We probably, from a fiduciary responsibility, should take a look at.
May I follow-up question? These are great ideas. I'm so glad we're making progress. I would love, personally, if you have proposals, if you have action items that you think the board should move on so that the project maintains momentum, I hope that you bring them to us, and we can just, you can make a motion that we do a thing, like a public, and then we can discuss it as a board and move forward, because I think that the full board is here to support the project through you as you work with the city. And we know that those communication channels are tough, right? Like, we talk about it, then you talk to them when you can meet. And so if there are action items that you'd like to take now before we even get to the discussion of design, I'd love to hear it. So just food for thought.
I think we should probably get together and talk after this next meeting, because the project itself hasn't changed a lot, because we only have so much room and we have so many things we have to fit in there. But the phasing discussion has gone and moved away from what was in the original presentation to the public, whereas overall, everyone felt that we needed to address the drainage issue first in phase one. Because that's what's causing us all our problems, from a track that has a gap that big in it that you can't run on to,
A
you know,
field that's a pond.
swampland in the,
Yeah, people being
in
up to
the
their knees
make,
watching their kids.
yeah,
play.
our
Yeah.
lacrosse team up to their, above their ankles in mud. So, that phasing will change the cost, timeline and the cost structure on this. You know, the overall total cost may not be, the same. We have done our best to try to minimize that or reduce that by reusing or recommending the reuse of tennis and basketball courts and softball fields. But we'll need to see that.
It also changed a bit where certain fields might sit. Initially, the track had sort of stayed where it was. And we thought that might be in an early phase because track is used by hundreds and hundreds, you know. However, you can't build a new track up here when the major drainage issue is in the back corner of that field, because when you go and address drainage, now you're gonna undercut whatever's under the track. So all of a sudden, the conversations turned from where, you know, keeping it the same to, okay, if we're gonna dig this up and fix it down here, then maybe that's where we start, and that's where a multi-purpose field could be, and that's where the track could be. See what I mean? So it sort of flipped it sort of flipped the thinking around the layout of the field and what would make sense going forward, putting it together. And then the not digging up, you know, we have tennis courts that are relatively new, and there's nothing wrong with them, and we have a couple of playing fields that are okay as well. So really trying to reutilize what we can, but it's, you know, the drainage pieces.
The
And then-
sticky wicket.
All the time, even on a dry day, it's sticky.
Well, and that's a lot of this work at this location will be below the surface of the field. I don't think people realize that is the major drawback of this particular project, is that a lot of it'll be below the surface.
Yeah.
Looking at the August calendar, there's not a lot of room. It doesn't
No,
look
I was
like.
looking, it's funny, because I was looking at it for this before we even got to
Yeah.
this part of
So
the meeting.
it
Choose
may.
Louise.
Maybe something we want to just put on Superintendent Murphy's radar to maybe schedule, see if we
Late
can
July.
schedule something at some point. Well, if you're going to meet potentially
22nd.
on the 22nd,
Oh, why is it going so fast?
Summer goals.
Summer.
We can certainly visit this at
Yeah.
calendar.
Yeah,
can
we can,
maybe
at
include the
executive committee
calendar.
can certainly
yeah.
take a look at this, but I would recommend that we get together to discuss it.
just get it on there somewhere.
And we can come with more pointed discussion points too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I will ask Mr. Gill to give us a copy of the slides that he has been using.
Appreciate that. Any other discussion on this matter? All right, we'll move on to a middle school project update, please.
Yeah, I don't have a lot. You know, we continue to meet with the architects and engineers pretty much every week. We meet on Thursday mornings, and they update us on their work, the design and development, and all of that aspect. They're very close to finishing. They will have something for you, as they promised, to give you an idea. But the most important thing right now is there's a meeting coming up on the 10th, right, Matt?
Yes.
With the city and all of the components in the city. We will present the project to them, the layout, the siting, the roads, the entrances, exits, parking, because we want input from them. And so we anticipate that meeting to be on the 10th, which is this week. So that's really the only update I have at this point. Obviously, you have some tough decisions to make. You know, the budget was finalized in Concord. There's no money for building aid. The only thing they'll pay for is the tail and what they owe people, right? That they've already made promises, but anybody on the list, including us, they did not allocate any funding. So you have some tough decisions, but that doesn't mean you have to stop doing what you're doing. You can still have all those plans. You can still have discussion around what's right for that site.
Ms. Meeker, did you have a?
I did. I just wanted to confirm that the meeting with the city is, the information that you're providing them is the same information that the building committee received at their previous meeting. Is that right? Have there been any changes? Like, I just want to make sure that our building committee has been informed and has an ample opportunity to discuss what we're bringing forward.
Right, it should be pretty much the same as what we presented to them, because it's about the roads and the parking and the entrances, parent drop-off versus the bus drop-off, versus specialized transportation drop-offs. So they want to review all of that. But that hasn't changed.
Ms. Robinson?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, you beat me to the punch, Kathleen. I was gonna mention that there is no building aid allocated in the state budget. So, I mean, I think to provide clarity to folks who are maybe confused as to why we're still moving forward with design at the Runlet location is because all of that due diligence is gonna need to be done no matter what at some point. So we might as well do that due diligence now while we know it's going to be more affordable because the rules of inflation and time are still in place. And that following through on having a design does not mean we're going to build a school, right? It's just setting us up so that when the situation is right for that to happen and they do put building aid back in the budget. That's my viewpoint. Of why we're moving forward in this way, but I do not foresee a brand new middle school in Concord's future in any real amount of time at this point, because it's just too steep of a tax ask from everyone. So we're just going to have to make a lot of tough decisions about what kind of maintenance we put into Runlet moving forward. I'm one voice, I'm one mindset about this. But I thought it might be helpful for folks who are curious about the process to know that that's why we're moving forward in this way.
Mr. Richards?
Yes, I just wanted to make clear for everyone, when you said that there's no building aid, that is, the building aid is not being funded in this biennium. The order and our position in building aid is still not changed.
Not changed.
It is just on hold.
Right.
The next biennium, we don't know what will happen.
Right.
To Ms. Robinson's point, we do know that costs will continue to go up 3 to 5% every year, but that's just a historic number that's held true. So, well, we want to be in our best position, regardless of decision.
Go ahead, Ms. Campbell.
No, I'm gonna go back to this meeting, so you can.
All right. At what point will we start getting some alternative, actionable things to make decisions on regarding the current building?
That's a great question.
We're talking some big bucks
Obviously,
there,
yeah.
too.
I mean, we have an idea about what has to be done. And so we haven't cost that out. You know that this summer, Matt oversaw repairs to the roof in all the areas. Maybe, Matt, you can
Sure.
jump in on that.
You know, I think we're following the process where we're going to get a design estimate, design development estimate sometime in September. I think we have some time between them to have building committee meetings and talk through different ideas, different plans. There are definitely, I'd lay out an example. If we go to replace the roof, we make the decision to replace the roof somewhere down the road. We also have to consider, what about that 30-year-old equipment that's on the roof, right? So if we choose not to replace that at the time, but do the roof, you take it off the roof, you set it down, and then you put it back up, and you're treating older equipment. So I think once we decide what these costs are through design development, and I think, as you mentioned, the board does have a tough decision to make, then you look at, okay, what does it take, to keep things going, to make things safe? And I think we're doing a lot of that right now. We're putting work into the roof starting next week. We have work going into HVAC when it comes to heating valve replacements and different tweaks to the system to keep that going. But we're going to need to know too, what is the decision ultimately, And we'll have some costs to compare it to, so it will help us make a decision, help you folks make a decision.
And I think it's going to be important at some point for the board to agree, this school is 5 years out, this school is 10 years out, and what do we need to do in the meantime? Because it's not sustainable the way it is. It's not a great environment for learning, and we're going to need to do something at some point. So whether it's building new or renovating what we've got, and putting lipstick on that pig, then that's what we're gonna have to decide and let people know so that you can make the right decisions going forward.
Yeah, it's a little more complex because I don't, I'm glad we're repairing leaks and all, but I don't want to be spending, a lot of money and getting an extra 5 years before we have to put in
Tear it
and
down.
build a new school, which will now be $190 million due to the inflation costs. And, I don't foresee, having talked to all of the experts and all of the contractors, that price is going to start dropping on building things in the next 5 to 10 years. It's only going to go up, is what every single expert says. So, and when we talked to the building aid people, a lot of the folks there told us that people often, if they are delayed on building aid, they often build it without building aid because the amount of building aid ends up being smaller than the increase in the costs of building as we go through from year to year to year. So I personally would be very interested in seeing those numbers.
Any more? Yeah, Ms. Baker?
Yeah,
Sorry, Ms. Kim.
that's right.
Too
Do you want to
active.
go ahead? I think that, we have a robust discussion that we need to have. I think that when we move from single decision to single decision to single decision, it is difficult to carry with us the vision of this long-term plan, which is a beautiful new school that our community deserves and has earned through years of living through the existing building. So I really want to make sure that we are keeping our mission vision in mind when we're making these decisions and having a robust discussion around all of the decisions, not necessarily like, well, we can't do new, so now let's do this. Right? So I'm hoping that we can have inspired, educated conversations around costs. I'm hoping we can consider how we beg, borrow, and steal if we don't get building aid, but we still want to move forward. We have assets. We have to engage with, the electorate. If we want to sell property, we need to have that conversation soon if we're going to do that. So, yes to all these conversations, and let's get it on the books, right? Because these are all difficult conversations to have, and not just as part of a quick update around this.
I spoke with the superintendent in Manchester because I was quite intrigued by their phasing in. Their phase one is $300 million. I said, did you apply for building aid? You know what her answer was? No, because they wouldn't be on the list. They'd be down below number 17. They'd never get it, and then never be able to do what they needed to do. I mean, they are going to rebuild an elementary school. They're going to knock one down. That was like an $84 million project, an elementary school of 400 kids, I might add. And then they'll be focused on their middle schools. And the rest of that money is all on their middle schools. So, for $300 million, to follow up on your point, they had to decide how to do that. And to be able to, and there's phase 2 and 3, by the way, because it includes their high school and their skill center, Manchester Skill Center. So, I mean, that's a long-term vision, but they've made that decision, and that's how they're moving forward. But it was an interesting conversation with her.
Yes, Ms. Kim.
These are smaller items, but I'm just thinking about future boards. This will probably take longer than a lot of us will be on the board, unfortunately, or some of us. When I think about the information that we keep and who we've met with, I know a big site of contention. I think about meetings with the city, right? Folks saying, oh, no one ever spoke to the city. Oh, we meet with them weekly. I don't know if there's a way to put it on the website. Like when we think about future timelines, like we met with who in the city are we meeting with? Can we put the presentation on there? That may not even be possible. Just throwing out some ideas for future board members to make it easier to reflect back on, no, we did do this. Here are the dates. This is who we spoke with. And then the second part to this, I think it doesn't have to be in sight. I don't know how we do this. I'm looking at you, Terry. Sorry. And Matt, the work that we are putting into Runlit now, if we can please continue to be very clear about what money is being put where. whether we need to have conversations with our community today or 5 years from now, 10 years from now, so we can always easily look back or search the website, say, yep, this is the work that was done, this was how much it cost. We've been asked this many times, so it'd be nice to have that information like at hand, so we could have those conversations.
Mr. Richards?
And I think you hit on a point. We do have to, in January, to talk and meet with community. In January, we had a very clear message from the majority of the community who said, we don't care that it's less expensive to build at broken ground. We're willing to pay more money, and we want a new school, and we want it now, and they wanted it at the State Street site. They may still have that, the majority of those people who came in and said that may still have that opinion. But there may be others that have others' opinions, and we just need to listen to all.
Yep, thank you.
So we have a lot of work to do in this. Even though it may not be building, we may not be putting shovels in the ground anytime soon. We've got a lot of work to do. Okay. Any other discussion on that? So we will move on now to public comment, for which we have 30 minutes allocated. And I believe that we had some people sign up to speak.
Matt, would you bring that list up to Brenda?
Yes.
And we'll ask that we start by keeping our comments to 5 minutes or less so that everyone has an opportunity to share their thoughts. Mr. Russell, would you like to come up and speak, please?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, members of the board. It's been a long day. I speak today on the $4 million plus being transferred from reserve trust funds, also known as rainy day funds, to cover the architectural design and other expenses for 2 middle school designs, at least one design that will never be built. It's ironic that the ill-fated December 2023 vote of the board to build a new school at broken ground created a storm of public opinion doing so, and that the rainy day fund is now paying for that massive error for the board on that vote. It was a $2 million error, gambling and wasting Concord taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. I think the board owes an apology to the citizens of Concord for not listening to the 95% plus people that spoke at that December 2023 vote. Dave Parker was the only one who spoke about moving it across the river. Now the big issue is the cost of the new school. If you were surprised at the 2/3 vote on the charter amendments, just wait. Less than 30% of the residents and families have children. 4,000 students, if they're all only children, 8,000 parents, that's 12,000 out of 45,000. That's under 30%. The other 70%, the taxpayers, they're concerned about their dollars. They have skin in the game. They have money in the game. There's no state school building aid, and perhaps you've heard that. We just learned that. Many of you knew that already. Some of you have quoted on Concord TV videos saying, no state building aid, no new school. I guess that's what I'm hearing now, but it's not over till it's over. In life and in politics, your word is your bond. We'll pull out those videos from people saying, no building aid, no new school. I recall discussing during the architectural contract setup that there was an escape clause put in there, or somebody talked about it. If there's no school building aid, you can pause, you can freeze the contract and not go in any further. You can stop the financial bleeding and hemorrhaging of this community. Let's cut the taxpayers' loss and stop the architect work right now. Around the turn of the century, which I guess is 25 years ago, a 70-year-old building was renovated and expanded. Students continued to attend that school uninterrupted by any construction work. And so renovation and upgrade are always a positive alternative. That school, that was Concord High School in the 1990s. And for those of you that might think building a new school is going to improve educational outcomes, we have a little test case. I haven't seen the results. We could look at educational achievement from 2008 to 2012 on the schools pre-consolidation, the old schools. And then we can compare it, the educational results, 2013 to 2016 or 2017, the same time period. So building a new fancy school doesn't guarantee it, and I would suggest being reasonable in your upgrades and your renovation and using that extra money to hire math tutors and do other things to improve the educational outcome. The students will have a better education for the rest of their lives. The fact that they went to a new school or an old school won't make a difference. I myself went to law school in an old bull barn up in East Concord, and here I am 48 years later. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Was there anyone else that wished to speak today? Mr. Wells?
Happy summer. Jeff Wells, Ward 5. So I'd like to just take a look of where I see things the way they stand now. We've all mentioned this several times tonight. There is no school building aid, even though at one point you were touting $70 million in state building aid. So that's not there, not going to be there. I doubt it'll be there in the next biennium either, unless the Republicans get booted out. It's my understanding right now there's $25 million frozen by the feds for New Hampshire K through 12, so that's going to impact the district. And then there's the EFAs. The enrollment is increasing around the state. I don't know what the numbers are in that right now, but you know, how's that going to impact the enrollments come next month in August? So right now it feels like you're stuck in a box. The box was created by HMFH architects back in 2017 when you released them and say, design the world, design the best thing we could think of, and we ended up with a $178 million design for the Clinton Street YMCA complex. There, again, was the $70 million school building aids. So the situation at HMFH, you gave them the green light, like I said, and they designed a school now for 900 students. Is it going to be 700 students? Where are you right now in enrollment? 750 to 775? EFA eats up another 50 down to 700, and that could be eating away at Concord for the next decade if that continues. So let's start thinking out of the box. So you've got a grand design. I've studied more what was done for Broken Ground than I have for Runlet. But my thoughts are, why not save at the Runlet School the existing gymnasium and multipurpose room? They're 1990, so they're only 35 years old. I know you guys don't like old buildings, but doing so would cut out the gymnasium and the multipurpose room from the new design. The gymnasium's on the second floor, which is ludicrous. I have no idea why they did what they did, other than maybe it coincides with the auditorium. And then the multipurpose room would be removed. So you're essentially, from the Broken Ground design, you're going to remove a whole story. You're not going to have a third story behind the education front or the wings, whatever you want to call those three towers. So my estimates are you could save between $27 to $36 million by doing that. So maybe there could be something new and something old combined together. I don't know if you'd have to bring the school forward a little bit to meet up with the gym and how that design would work. I would recommend also holding off on geothermal. Make your system ready for that. And guess what you have behind the school? You have another athletic field. So you guys seem to be crazy about fields. You'll have a field that isn't all dug up with well holes and stuff, and you can use that to your heaven's delight. One thing I never liked about the design was Main Street. 3 stories of air. Heating and cooling 3 stories of air is just ludicrous. How are you going to do that? Get rid of the Main Street big glass mall-like design. That makes no sense at all. So I passed these around before. They're pretty crude. I don't have drawing software, but I've got X's through parts of the building that would be removed. Certainly the 1990 section of Runlet for the gymnasium and multipurpose room is not to scale, but somehow fit it into this design, get rid of these things, and you're gonna save a boatload of money. And maybe you'll get the citizens of Concord behind you again. So I'll leave that with you. Geothermal, from what I'm reading, it's gonna take about 20 years to pay that back. So I don't know if that's worth it or not. And who knows, in 20 years, maybe it'll be something else. I heard the other day that they are developing minute nuclear generators, power generators, that could sit in your backyard. Maybe that in 20 years is what's gonna power a school and not a bunch of wells and things dug up. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll leave that too.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Anyone else wish to speak this evening? Not seeing anyone, we will close the public comment. And move on to personnel.
So, Michelle's not here tonight, I think you know that, she's on vacation, so I'm gonna fill in for her. The first one is an existing teacher, and it's a confirmation. She's moving from the middle school to the high school in an art position. I think you know that from the retirement party, Jeff Fulham was retiring, so Christine was excited about moving up and having a new challenge and a new experience, so I would recommend that to you for the 25-26 school year.
Would you like us to make?
I'd like a confirmation, I think it's all,
Separately from the rest, or
It's
as a
up to
whole
you.
slate?
the next ones then are the new teacher confirmations. These are brand new teachers to the district. And so I'm pleased, if you want, I'll just.
Yeah, let's just
All right,
do them all
okay.
together.
Then I'll put, pleased to place Michelle Adams for a position of speech and language pathologist at the high school. Again, replacing Catherine Todd. The second one is Mario Avola. He is their new automotive teacher. Mario comes to us from Grapponi and various Salem Hyundai. I had a chance to interview with him. He had really a lot of experiences. And Dave Allen, Lincoln Mercury, I told him I bought a car there many years ago. So lots of experience. It'd be great with the kids. So place his name in for your consideration. A tough position to fill, but we found it, was the French teacher at the high school. Alyssa McCormick, who's coming to us from Goffstown High School. And that was one area that we really struggled with. I know we try really hard to stay in line with our M5, 6, 7 area, but we had no luck finding a certified language teacher. In this particular case, it was French. So I place her name in for your consideration and nomination. Next position is a math teacher. This was a great interview. She's coming to us from Seattle, Washington. Had a lot of experiences and in special education and also in math. And she'll be replacing Sabrina Fries, who has resigned. This next one is a nurse. As you know, we had a resignation from a nurse at Abbott Downing, and I'm moving forward to nominate Tessa Atkins for that position over at Abbott Downing. And last, Emily Whipple, speech and language pathologist over at Millbrook. You know, I looked at all the numbers because it's really important. I mean, we really try to stay within the budget. So I looked at it, and it was really interesting. In some cases, it was $39,000 more for those positions, but $38,000 for positions that place. So it's almost a wash. So I want you to know that we really try, and I know you're very sensitive to those costs. But the positions, as you know, at this point in the year, speech and language, special ed, mathematics, language, are tougher positions to fill. And so I'd ask for your consideration with that.
I move to accept the entirety of the slate of, both the existing teacher confirmations and new teacher confirmations as presented to the board.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The
Thank you.
motion
And
carries.
the last piece is just the coaches, for the fall coaches. And you can see that this is a complete slate of all the folks that will be doing our coaching across the board. We still have a few positions to fill. They're highlighted in your book in green. What was it I said?
You're too boring, sorry.
I guess so.
I don't wanna hear anything.
So if you just pay attention to the, for instance, field hockey over at Runlet, we gotta work on that one, but these are the positions, and I offer you that slate of coaches for the 25-26 school year. This is the fall coaches.
I move acceptance of the slate of fall coaching nominations as presented to the board.
Second.
Thank you.
Who was the
Oh,
second?
Jess.
Okay.
Oh, Barb, sorry.
Barb.
All of those in
We have our
favor?
thing going.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
So I asked to just address two positions. The first one I'd like to address is the assistant superintendent position, which was the position for student services, right, across the board, John Fabrizio's position. And so I've moved forward, and I have an interim that we will have to fill in for, and right straight through till October. Jenny Mosca has worked with us, as you know. She's worked last year. She worked with Medicaid. The year before, 2 years before, she transitioned when we had Mr. Belmont and we were waiting for a new position. Jenny came in and helped us. So she's currently working in Manchester, doing the same exact job. She's really a contracted employee. We just contract her for a daily rate. She'll work 3 days a week and support us. Met with her. She started this morning. And so I think it's a good way to go right now. My goal is in August, late August, early September, repost that position. I'm going to bring forward to you a proposal for reorganizing that department. So we can look at that in order to support that. But we're in pretty good places right now in special ed. Our MML program is fired up. ESY started today, pretty seamless. So a lot of good work has been done. I feel good about it. And so I know it's difficult to lose somebody with the talent that John had, but Jenny brings a wide range of experiences to us. So she was a former superintendent, does tons of work in special education, so.
Ms. Meeker?
That'll ease the minds of special ed staff.
Oh, yeah.
District.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just sent a note out today. She was already on the
Parents.
phone with some of them,
Yeah.
just talking about, we had a, parent was concerned about the IEP, and that's part of what we do every day, right? And Jenny was on the phone with him. So I feel good about it. She's a good, solid person.
Good. Ms. Meeker?
Just purely for the minutes, is there any board action that needs to happen in order to confirm?
I
Is
don't
it
think
part
so.
of
I
your
think it's just a
contingency?
contract.
Okay,
I think it's a contract that I've put forward to bring her in to fill a position.
great, thank you.
The couple things we did do was, one other thing besides getting ready for a posting, was we redefined the job description too. We reviewed the job description, so we'll have a fresh job description to post when we go out
On our new website?
on our new website.
Great, love it.
Yeah. Director of Transportation is another position, critical. Currently, it's being overseen by an internal employees. They're doing a great job. Check in with them every day. They know what they're doing. Like I said, we transported kids today for extended school year, and both using big buses as well as some of our smaller vans. So I'm happy with what happened this morning. So I think they can carry it. We also did redo that job description, made it more current, brought it up to date. And we have posted the position, and thus far, the position will close on Friday. We have two really strong candidates.
Great. It's nice to
yeah.
have choices, yeah.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, right. Update you on that. And lastly, you always ask, what are the positions that are still out there, right? So we have a special ed teacher at the high school, our teacher at Runlet, because remember, she moved up, so we're looking. There's a 60% music at Runlet, but we have a candidate pending, so I'm hoping we'll clean that up. Speech and language at Beaver Meadow, 50% music at Broken Ground. We re-advertised, we changed up the description a little bit to see if we could attract. I haven't talked to Kyle, he's out on vacation this week, so we'll check in. And an occupational therapist, 60% district-wide. We will continue to work to bus drivers, although we did get one of our old bus drivers back this week, which was nice, less training. They have all the skills, so we're good about that. We have a couple of custodian positions, some food service, instructional assistants, that's like a revolving door. There is a sense of, the end of the year, we get resignations, and then those positions are filled. So the principals are working on that now. Permanent sub at CHS and CMS. And as soon as we know about the tutors and everything is allocated, we'll go ahead and hire the tutors.
Do you know how many educational assistant positions you have open right now?
Right now, 28.
Okay. So if you're interested, please apply. Thank you.
Anyway, I think I captured all the personnel issues, and I know that seems like a lot, but it isn't. How do I say that?
No.
Without, sounding foolish.
It's manageable.
It's manageable, and it's doable, and it's probably our best summer in terms of positions.
Heck yeah. Like hearing that.
I do think that Concord is a place that people want to come and work.
Other business? Ms. Meeker?
I just had a quick question. Talking about personnel reminded me of our contract with Great Schools Partnership. How is that going, and will we hear from them at any point soon?
So we had anticipated by the end of June, we would have a report from their ecosystem scan, which was their scan of surveying staff, students, parents, et cetera. That report has not yet been made available to us, so I have reached out to them and inquired about when we would see it. And then they have sent us the agenda for our Leadership Academy or Leadership Retreat. And part of that will be addressing the scan with the administrators and directors. I'm hoping that it gets to you soon, and I will be in touch with them about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Campbell?
Where are we at with the cell phone? Does that go through policy?
Hasn't been signed yet.
Depends on who you ask.
Okay. Okay.
That's going to be in the hands of the policy committee, because now it's become law. It's an RSA, and so we're working on it, and certainly want to have input. It's not an issue in our elementary and middle. It's the high school that we have to deal with, and so we'll be looking for feedback from the folks at the high school, and in developing a policy that certainly complies with the law. There's no question there. No one will argue that cell phones should not be used during instructional time. No one, unless it's part of, we were talking about calculators. You remember the calculators that we used to use in the calculus class that was T whatever they were, I forget. There you go. Cost you remember how expensive they were? So the kids use their phone for that. Quite frankly, they just use their phone. So we have to decide how to handle that. But instructionally, they're not pulling out their phones, and there's no money associated with the RSA, of course. And so whatever we decide to do, right now Tim has places where the kids drop their phones when they go in. But I'm always challenged by the ingenuity of our students as they address this cell phone issue. So we'll be working on that. I think the administrators are concerned that they'll become cell phone police, and that's one thing they don't want to do at the high school. So how do we do that in a way that's respectful to our students? because our high school students are good kids.
Well,
And
it's
they,
that culture of respect.
it is, and I talked about it tonight with graduation, didn't I? It was just, it's just so, they're so positive, you know? Well, I have I don't know if I brought it down tonight, I'll share it in my weekly, but we had some kids go to national conference, CTE, they came home with first prize. First prize. CTE, a national competition, two or three kids, there were more than that, they were like a team, but 3 of them were Concord kids. And I just think that our kids are really respectful, and so when you develop policy, you want their input and you want to respect them, because that's when you get buy-in. So, that was a good question.
Sure, no, that's fine.
Another quick one, you don't have to answer that. I just wanted to thank Miss Meeker and Miss Boucher, wherever she is in this world right now. Awesome experience at Concord Market Days.
yeah.
So the school board, we
Huge thank you,
volunteered at.
Sarah Sadowski.
Did you draw the
Jess
Pokeballs?
Campbell,
It was
Liz
so- that was my
Boucher.
son, but yeah. Okay, great. But we did have volunteers, completely organized by you two. I just had to show up with Sarah. But we met so many local parents, kids. It was just a wonderful experience. So thank you for giving us that opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for volunteering.
Thank you all for doing that, too. All right, proposed calendar of meetings.
So in front of you on page 35, you can see you have, you know, a lot of you still have vacation time, so we're trying to work around that, plus the staff here. So Wednesday, we have a policy committee. I understand that we're going to be looking at the Title IX 415 policy for about the
Ninth time.
9th or 10th time. Thank you. We have the executive committee on the 21st and followed by a board retreat. That's your mid-year retreat. You just talk about your goals, set your goals for next year. What do you want to do? Have those conversations. Just a couple of hours, but not any formal presentations. You'll have an agenda, which I'm sure your executive committee will develop. But I don't think you don't want any presentations unless I'm
No,
missing
we
something.
want pizza though.
We do.
You do want supper?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Supper. Yes.
Supper.
I'll bring.
New England.
I'm
We're in New
happy
England.
to bring the pizza.
That's a funny word.
Yeah.
What do you call, what do you eat at night?
Dinner.
No, dinner's Sunday at noon.
That's so true. That's very New England. Very New England.
Supper.
Come on in.
Breakfast, lunch, supper,
Yeah.
Sunday dinner. Dinner's fancy. Supper's mac and cheese or American chop suey,
Whatever you
shepherd's
prefer.
pie.
We're gonna need a policy on this, guys.
Yeah.
And then the
Definitions
22nd.
in the beginning.
Yes.
Oh, no, 20, I'm losing my voice. 22nd
Let's give
is
you a break.
Memorial Field update,
Yep.
5 o'clock at the community center. Then you get really back to business in August.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, there you go. Board of Education meeting on the 4th. The admin retreat is a couple of days. We're taking locally, we're staying locally. We're not taking anybody away. You know, expensive, and I tried to be careful with that. Building committee meeting is on the 7th. Communication and policy again on the 11th. Finance, instructional on the 13th. Followed the week of the 18th, you have your executive committee, city and community. It's probably when we want to talk about the Parks and Recreation, Barb.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with them.
Yeah, we have the back to school night, which is a great night, by the way, the 19th at Keach Park from 5 to 7. On the 20th and the 21st, we have new staff orientation. I always extend an invitation to you. Kim is kind of runs it, does all the onboarding with our new staff, and a couple of days of doing that. And just want to remind you, there also is a return to Ready to Learn fair at Runlet, which is kind of neat. If you've haven't been, you have to go. They bring in a barber and he does haircuts, and it's just awesome. Yeah, and they have book bags and materials for the middle schoolers as they approach that wonderful adolescent age. And so it's a great Ready to Learn fair at Runlet.
If folks wanted to donate to that, is there a process for that?
You know, I don't really know, but that's a great question.
The Ready to Learn, that's a volunteer, and they do have a Facebook page, if you search
Okay.
for it. It's by former employees, right?
Yeah.
But they have a Facebook page, and they do accept donations.
Awesome.
Like, yeah, their last post was they were shopping clearance sales
Oh
in
my
like
gosh.
over the
Okay.
spring, yeah.
All right, and it's just called Ready to Learn?
Ready to Learn, I think is Ready to Learn Concord, and it should pop up.
Last week in August is teacher workshops, opening day, celebration with our staff, our entire staff. First day of school is August 27th. But we will celebrate Labor Day weekend on the 29th.
You're entitled to that, yes. Ms. Higgins?
So this just came to mind. We've been recognizing all these things, and I maybe should have interjected when you were doing yours. So we had wonderful graduations and end of the year things. I don't know how many of you know all the ups and downs that went into our senior levy, our senior prom. There was location issues and where is it going to be and all sorts of hassle. And Lisa Lamb, who's the senior class advisor and has done the levy and the prom planning for years and years, of course, bore the brunt of this. So she put together, with the help of Mr. Herbert and a smattering of volunteers, an incredibly beautiful prom at the high school. So I went up in the afternoon to take a look at it. She had a reception for family and parents to come. The number of community members that came and walked through up, she had the red carpet and this like tunnel of lights, and she decorated the bathrooms. They're like, you do selfies in the mirror. There was lights and leaves and flowers around the bathroom mirrors. There wasn't a corner of that facility not made beautiful. So I just feel that, sometimes the behind the scenes people don't get a lot of recognition, and Lisa puts hours and hours and hours into her life to put that together. And I heard only positive things about it. But the part I liked the best was the number of community people that went to take a look. It was just, welcome, come and see. So I feel like Lisa deserves a little shout out. So, yeah.
And I believe we're going to be headed into a non-public for RSA 91-A:3, Section 2.
Are you making that motion?
So, yeah,
Yes, I'll make that motion. That we go into that.
second.
This is a roll call vote. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Ms. Hastings?
Yes.
Ms. Higgins?
Yep.
Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yep.
Ms. Sadowski?
Yes.
And I am a yes.
All right, and following that, we will just come out to adjourn, so we will let people go, including Concord TV. And we thank you for attending and participating. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good job.